Hey guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with my April wrap-up. I almost just said May. It is the end of April. It is the last day of April I'm filming this. However, I am in the middle of 3 books. And I think so, or 2, and I'm gonna finish them today. So I'm gonna chat about one of them, but the other one, I don't know how I feel yet about it. So I'm teetering between a 5 and a 4. So I'm not gonna tell you my thoughts on that one until my next wrap up, but then the other one, I'm like, for sure know what I'm gonna rate it at this point. So I have 10 books to share with you, which I'm trying to be okay with how my reading has slowed down. I am going through a lot of changes in my life right now. I've had a lot of things happening. So I went on a trip this month. I actually went on 2. So I went to Denver at the very beginning of the month, and then I went to Seattle last week. And so when I go on trips for book signings, I don't read at all the weekend. I'll read on the plane, but I won't get any reading done. So that cuts into my reading time. And I've just had a lot of new projects I'm working on, so 20 books in a month is a lot. Like, I have so far read, I think, 21 this month, and it might be 22 by the end, which is a lot, but it's just not as much for me, but it's okay. I need to be okay with not reading as much, but I will go ahead and get to all the books that I've read. Some were for videos. Well, before I get started though, look at my sweatshirt. It says let's rodeo and read. I got it from the Last Chapter book box when I was at Seattle, so it's bright pink and I love it. I just wanted to say that. But the first one I read is Right Man, Right Time by Megan Quinn. I did a Megan Quinn reading vlog because so many people have told me amazing things about this book. It is an age gap hockey romance, fake dating. Fake dating is having a moment right now. I've read a couple fake dating romances and I think they're fun, but it's never like I'm obsessed with fake dating. But these books were so good. This one was a 4.5 star for me. It was a little slow in the middle, but the heroine and the hero meet because they're at a bar, and the heroine needs to act like she has a boyfriend, so she goes up to him. I think someone had broken up with her, and so she goes up to him and is like, I'm gonna kiss you in like 10 seconds. Tell me no, and if not, I'm gonna do it. So she does, and he also has an ex he wants to make jealous because his ex cheated on him. And we got the scene, and he doesn't let anybody know. He is a very famous hockey player, and she is now working for the team. And so he's like, I would love to fake date someone so that she like leaves me alone and it can look like I've moved on. And so turns out like his ex is joining the team for a reason, working for them, but the heroine actually just got put into like sports journalism covering hockey. And so she's like, I didn't ask for this. She's actually, I think, a senior in college, and he is like 30, and he is like, what am I doing with a college aged woman? And so it's definitely an age gap, but they are so fun together. I will say the heroine acted a little immature at times, so she jokingly called him like fart face or something. It was like, that's my new nickname for you, because they were talking about nicknames for each other to make it look like they loved each other, and I was just like, so I was like just like a little annoyed with how like young the author like made her be to like make the age gap more obvious, but it was really fun. I really love their connection. I really ended up liking the end. So something happened that usually I don't like, but the conclusion of that conflict or the resolution really made me appreciate the journey the characters went on, and I loved how the ending turned out because they both needed to address certain insecurities that they had. So I really like this one. 4.5. Like I said, the middle though dragged definitely because I was listening to this on audio, and it's like an 11-hour audiobook. Megan Quinn likes to write very long books, but I ended up enjoying this one. 4.5 out of 5 stars. So good, definitely how people said. But then I read 2 more for that video. One I ended up DNFing, and then I read That Second Chance, which this one is just a very generic small town romance. I feel like there was nothing super special about it. I gave it 3 stars. The hero had been married, and then he and his brothers saw this like fortune teller, and she cursed them in love, and then his wife dies. So now he's like, the curse is real, and I'm like, okay. And that's like literally the basis of what he does with the relationship for the rest of the book, where he's like, I can't love you because you're gonna die because I'm cursed. And I'm just like, is this really our conflict? Like, the only thing keeping them apart was him not wanting her to die because of his curse. And she's a teacher in town, and she's new to their small town, and they just do very mundane things together, like they're building furniture, they go camping, and there's nothing like special really at all for the book. So I gave it 3 stars. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And then I did DNF one of her baseball romances, so you can check out that vlog if you are interested. And then I picked up my Patreon book club pick, so we read When a Moth Loved to Be by Pepper Winters. This book I'm conflicted on. So I did read this with Jennifer Hartman. I love Jennifer Hartman so much. This was actually her first fantasy. She picked it because she loves Pepper Winters. Jennifer Hartman's a very dark romance author, so she picked a dark romance. And in my book club with my Patreon, I do a live show with an author, and the author gets to choose the book. This book was 800 pages. This was way too long. When she picked it, it was 1,000 pages. So after arcs went out of this book, Pepper Winters cut out like 200 pages. So it's still an 800-page book. It's fantasy, but it's very like prehistoric fantasy. I forget what the word was that someone used, but it's very caveman-like. So they are living like in the wilderness. It's this guy and this girl, basically soulmates, destined to be together, but they've lost their memory and they don't know who each other are, they don't know who they are, they don't know anything. So we are learning the fantasy world with them, which I enjoy fantasies like that because then I feel like I'm not being like info dumped. I'm like, oh, I'm along the journey with the characters because they don't know, so I don't have to learn everything that they already know. I just have to learn things they don't know yet. And so they are taken in by these two separate groups. She's taken in by the fire people, and it's very elemental magic. So there's like fire, earth, wind, I was gonna say air. Fire, earth, wind, water, and so these are fire people, and she's like being adopted into their people and learning things and being trained on things, and he is being raised by wolves. And they see each other and they realize they have this intense connection, but like there's a reason that they can't be together and there's a reason they don't remember each other. There was so much dead time in this book. It could literally have been 400 pages and I would have been fine. Even less than 400 pages. So much build up to these things that didn't happen for like 200 pages, and it was very repetitive. I did really like the angst where she ends up being mated to someone, and it became very angsty in the romance, and I really liked it. And the ending has me intrigued, but I don't know if I can do this again. It was so hard. I ended up giving it 2 stars. There were so many things that I really appreciated about this book. So our live show, we talked about a lot of positive things about the book, like that we really, really liked. But there was just way too much nothing happening that it ruined the experience for me, and I could not recommend this to read because it was just so slow and mundane. And if I wasn't doing a live show with the author where we were the only people who had read the book, I would have DNF'd it. I pushed through though because it was just me and Jennifer chatting, and like I said, it was a great talk, but I just didn't love this book, so I gave it 2 stars. Then I read one of my favorites. You guys know how obsessed I am with her. I read Catherine Cowell's new book, and this one I had the arc of. I actually read it, most of it on the plane going to Seattle to see her. She was there and I helped out at her table, and this was her newest book, and it is a friends to lovers, small town romantic suspense. So this one, heavy trigger warning for abusive relationships. So the heroine left town to move out to Atlanta with her boyfriend, and I think they end up being engaged. I don't remember if they're actually engaged or just dating, but she is just not in a good space and ends up having a very bad beating from her boyfriend, fiance. So she leaves and she comes back to their small town, and the hero is very excited because he hasn't really oh my god, like the hero in this, I'm just thinking of moments where he is just the sweetest. This is one of my favorite heroes by Catherine Cowell so far. He is the sweetest, most protective. It has the line, "Who did this?" in here, and I'm obsessed. So she ends up coming back, and obviously her ex is not gonna let her go, and so she's kind of nervous and scared that he's stalking her, but she's staying a lot with Nash. They were best friends before, and they actually would spend a lot of time sleeping in the same bed together because they felt very protected, like when they were with each other, and they really relied on each other for emotional support in the past. So she came from an abusive household, and so now they're kind of repeating that, but it's definitely crossing the line into something more, and he's very protective, and his family is very protective of her, which I absolutely loved. It is their family who gets all the books in this series. So book 1 was the brother Holt, and then we have Nash, and then I think Gray is her name who gets the next one, and that's brother's best friend romance because it's one of the brother's friends in here. And Catherine sets up her next books so well because I'm like, I need their book. I need it so badly, but this was amazing. The romantic suspense was perfect. I love romantic suspense now. If you've been following me, you know I'm obsessed with that genre now, so I love that in here. I love Friends to Lovers and Second Chance are my 2 favorite tropes right now. Her first book was Second Chance. This one's Friends to Lovers, so it's written for me. I love these, so not literally. She wrote these a while ago. She writes like 5 books ahead, so she did not write these for me, but I am obsessed. So definitely check out Echoes of You. It came out already, so this video is going up Wednesday. This came out yesterday. Pick it up now because I'm obsessed. 5 stars. I loved it. Pick this up. Then I also read this on the trip because Lena Hendricks was going to be at the signing, so I read One Look. This one is a single parent and a small town romance. So the heroine is new in town because she's an actress, and she she is a professional crier. So she heard about this gig where people can be hired to cry at funerals. And that makes sense. They like don't want them to be alone. They want it to be shown that like someone cared about them. So she goes to someone the hero knows and to like their funeral, and the town is like, who is this woman? They were like all determining she was like his like secret lover or something, and it was really funny. But she decides to stick around in the town, and she really wants to become an actress. She is still like applying to jobs, but she is also trying to apply jobs in this small town, and she like gets set up somewhere close by to where the hero lives, and he is a single dad. He is actually a football coach, so he is like coming in back and out of town to bring his daughter like around his family, and I had a lot of fun with this. I ended up giving it a 4-star, more like 3.5 to 4, but like not really 3.5. I do want to bump it up to 4. It does have like a couple of slow moments, and it's just like your typical small town romance. I didn't feel like absolutely blown away by it, so that's why it's a 4-star, but it was really cute. I really did enjoy his daughter. I really loved his family and him like wanting to get together with her, but her like not knowing what she wants to do with her life, and is she gonna actually try to pursue acting, because if she does, she obviously cannot stay in a small town. But it was really sweet them getting to know each other and being around each other a lot. So 4 stars for this one. I'm excited for the next one, but I'm definitely more intrigued by her romantic suspense stuff. So she has a series called Redemption Ranch, I think, where The Badge is book 1. I think I'll like it better, but this one, solid small town romance. Then I felt like listening to an audio of a thriller. I feel like kind of slumpy when it came to thrillers, so I listened to What Lies in the Woods, and this one was so predictable. So the heroine is the survivor of an attack from a serial killer. Her and her 2 friends were attacked. She was the only one like brutally attacked, so she has scarring on her face, but they all survived and put the serial killer behind bars. And now they're adults, and the serial killer, I think he got cancer and died in jail. So I know he's dead. And she goes back to her hometown, and they start unraveling things. And as soon as a certain character was introduced, I knew exactly who that character was and how they were tied to everything, and that was true. And then I knew pretty much a lot of the secret of what happened to them. As soon as certain characters were introduced, I was like, I know this. And it played out exactly how I thought it would be. It was pretty fast paced. The first half I really liked, but then I was like, it's not gonna play out how I think it is, right? And everything did. So unfortunately, it was definitely very predictable for me, and I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, it was definitely fast paced. I enjoyed the kind of like scary parts happening, because like someone was stalking her at one point, and we get flashbacks to when they were kids playing and like when all that happened. But as a thriller, I should not be able to predict almost every single twist in the book. So I feel like it was just way too predictable, and I didn't love that. So I gave it 3 stars, and I was left pretty underwhelmed at the end. The next 2 books I read for my Patreon. So every month they get to pick 2 books for me to read, and so they voted on the audiobook of My Dark Romeo by Parker Huntington and LJ Shen. This one, if you bought the ebook, the audio, or like downloaded the ebook for KU, so for free for me since I have that subscription, the audio was $2, and I was like, sure, why not? And I'm pretty sure it was Jacob Morgan who narrated this, and I'm obsessed with him. Zachary Weber is Jacob Morgan. I love him, and so the paperback was also like $10, and I love this edition, so I went ahead and got it. And this one is it felt very typical of these 2 authors, but I was eating it up like candy. I had so much fun. Is it like a literary masterpiece? No, but this is one where it's just based on vibes. I had a fun time, and I really enjoyed it. So it's your typical marriage of convenience, billionaire, I hate you, we're getting married kind of thing. Not a whole lot of plot. So the heroine is engaged to someone for a marriage of convenience. She's very proper. She's saving herself for marriage. It feels very historical kind of societal views, right? She gets ruined. So he, like in a contemporary setting, he hooks up with her and makes sure they're caught so that he can marry her for a reason. And he is a very damaged hero. We learn a lot about him, like, oh my gosh, with the scene, it's more towards the end where he reveals things about his past, and I'm like, I'm obsessed with you. You're a damaged hero, and I want you. I loved him, and they hate each other, so it very much reminded me of Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark, where they get married, and she's doing everything in her powers to like make him mad. She takes his credit card, literally spends like $1 million. I'm not exaggerating. She drops like $1 million in a day and continues to do that and make him mad. She throws parties for people he hates and just like tries to push his buttons and make him angry. And in the process, they are falling so hard for each other. And I loved it. and it was fun. I did give it 4 stars because, like I said, like there was not really plot. I was like, where is this story going? Like they're just hanging out, being married, and she's like doing all these horrible things. But the fact that they were so into each other, and then like he gets his feelings hurt when he thinks she feels a certain way because she's talking to someone and he overhears, and then he's like, oh my god, but I like actually really loved her. I love it when like a very brooding, damaged, just stoic hero is really soft on the inside and is like, oh my god, but you hurt my feelings. It was so good. So highly recommend checking this out. Like I said, it's a fun time. Like you can't take it too seriously. It is a billionaire marriage of convenience where they hate each other. But it was so good. Then I ended up reading Offside by Avery Keelan, and this one I read for that vlog as well, but it was also my Ravished by Romance pick with Lacey from Lacey Book Lovers for our book club, and this one I gave 4 stars too. So I loved the first half. We have just the most amazing hero ever. It's a hockey romance. Her boyfriend is a hockey player and her brother's a hockey player, and her boyfriend has been cheating on her, and she keeps on taking him back, and finally he's like, you know, I'm going to the NHL, and you're like baggage. I don't want you anymore. On her birthday. So she ends up going out with her friends and runs into the rival hockey player for her like brother and ex's team, and he has a reputation. He's a bad boy and he's a really good hockey player, and they're flirting, but she's like, I know who you are, like no. And then her friends put the idea in her head, like dating your ex's rival would be a great way to get back at him. So then they kind of start a thing, and she doesn't want to though, because she's like my life is hockey and my school. And she's a journalism major too, which I really loved, and she really is passionate about hockey. She actually wanted to be a hockey player as well, but her parents couldn't afford it, so they put all their money towards her brother. And you really see a lot of her life start crumbling away because everything was tied to her boyfriend. Like her friends don't really want to be around her anymore, like her roommates, and then her brother is distancing himself too, and it was really hard to watch, but it was really relatable because like relationships change so much, especially at that age where you can be best friends with someone and then a year later not even talk to them anymore. So I really love that aspect of this, and she just like did not know what to do, but the hero was so sweet and amazing, and I loved how they were falling for each other, and I loved all the hockey in here. However, the second half of this book was so pointless. It did not have to be this long. Nothing was happening. There was a lot of build up to this like gala where barely anything happened at this gala. I was like, why are we building up to this event? And then the event was such a letdown, and then we had this huge conflict and drama at the end in the last like 10% that was wrapped up very, very quickly. Like that could have been explored more throughout the book instead of like a whole 40% chunk that was pointless. So I'm leveling it out to 4 stars because like the beginning was 5, the end was 3. So I'm gonna put it in the middle at 4. And I was really annoyed with her being very insecure in her relationship with the hero because she kept on thinking he was cheating and believing the word of like people she hates. I was like, your source is not reliable. Now why are you accusing him of cheating when he has not shown you he would be a cheater? So there was a lot going on in this book. I gave it 4 stars though. Like I said, the beginning was perfect, but it was way too long. And I don't know if the authors are just making long books for KU to try to get that page count, but they get paid by page in KU. So maybe that's why all these books are so long, but this one did not need to be this long. So then I ended up picking up the audiobook of Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and absolutely 5-star read. So this one is Jacob Morgan, who is Zachary Weber, or I think it's supposed to be Zachary Weber. And this one, I can never remember which name he narrates under, but this one, the hero's name's Jacob. So they're doctors, and she is getting a divorce, and so she is like very jaded when it comes to love. Her brother has like kidney failure, so he is really struggling even to live. So she is feeling just very overwhelmed, taking care of her brother, going through her divorce, and she's a doctor, and there's this new doctor in the ER, and he is interesting. So she immediately does not like him. She's like, he had a very bad first day. He had like 5 people die on the first day, and that is our hero. He has a lot of anxiety, and so this one really explores him living with anxiety and her being so understanding after they meet. So she's really mean to him when they meet, and then they run into each other in her closet that she likes to like compose herself in. He likes to go there to get away from everybody and have a quiet moment, and they start bonding there. And then his sister catches them in the closet, and he had told his sister he's dating someone at work because his ex broke up with him and months later started dating his brother, and now they're engaged. So he wants people to think he's moved on. So now he's like, crap, my parents think I'm dating this woman and I really like her, but like we're friends. And so then he ends up realizing that he is a match for a kidney donor for her brother. So he wants to donate it anonymously, and then asks her to fake date, but like not really. She figures it out and she's like, of course I'll fake date you. So they start fake dating and it is amazing. He is exploring what really went wrong in his other relationship and how he was treated, and people really tell him like, you should not feel like a burden to people. People should be able to see you and really value your strengths and who you are as a person and be kind and helpful. And so the heroine does amazing things for him with his anxiety that I absolutely loved, and I love this. There was a lot of miscommunication. I will say that. I know people are very annoyed with that, but I love this. 5 stars. The ending was a little frustrating. The heroine gets very frustrating because she will not communicate when he is trying to and really shuts him down in parts, and that's really frustrating, but I thought it was very realistic. I really enjoy this. The author's note at the end too is just very touching. Absolutely love this book. Amazing. The last book I have to chat about is the one I am almost done with. I have like less than 100 pages left. This one is Virgin Fire by Elizabeth Chadwick. My live show's tonight for this. It is for historical Hellions, and this one is a little boring. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I know, like right off the bat, the beginning was fun. So she is just living her life. They live in Texas, and this guy comes in and like sweeps her off her feet, and she wants to marry him, and her parents are like, you shouldn't, but she's really not her mother's daughter. Her dad was married before and had her, but she didn't know that, and so the hero is actually not related to her, but like he had his father and they were doing really well, and then he got screwed over by the heroine's birth mother and the heroine's birth mother's husband. So they end up causing his father's death. So he has a vendetta. He got super wealthy because he was on the streets for 4 years then when his dad died, because his mom had already died. So now he's super rich and wanted to get back, so he decides to marry her, and it's their romance. And so that was fun. I really liked watching them fall in love. This was though like marketed as a bathtub book, and that didn't happen until like 300 pages into the book. So that was a little disappointing. This whole like bathtub thing where they make a deal where he can use her bathtub for a certain reason, and then he starts like wooing her. No, that's not what this book is about. She realizes the truth and he has to grovel, and it's kind of like their second chance romance, but not really, because like not a lot of time has passed. So there's way too much about the oil industry in here. I do not care about oil wells and like selling land, and that's all this book's about. So there was too much historical aspect to this. I was just talking with my patrons during reading sprints, and I was like, Ice and Rapture by Connie Mason, which is such a fun like romance where they talked about like going to Alaska, and I think they were talking about oil, something like that, like with that historical aspect, but there's so much adventure in it. Here, she's just hanging around town, avoiding her husband, and that's all this book was about. So I was very bored with this. 3 stars, but I really like the beginning, so I don't think it's gonna save itself in the end. So that's why I feel comfortable talking about it now. So that's how I felt about this. And those are all the books that I read in the second half of April. I will link below my first half wrap up if you would like to see that. Let me know what you read this month and what you've read that I've read. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.